So thank you, everyone. Thank you for spending time wherever you are, morning, afternoon, evening. I'm really glad that you are interested to learn a bit more about Management 3.0 and all the wonderful tools that it has. What's going to happen for the next 1 hour? As I mentioned, it is the introduction to Management 3.0. In terms of the technical requirements of this session, is not that difficult, but if you can either look at my screen on the Zoom sharing, or you can click on the Miro board in the Zoom chat, and you'll be brought to the Zoom space, into the Miro space, and you can follow the action on that side as well. So I am going to get started. So what are we here for? Again, this is the introduction to Management 3.0. We're going to have a good understanding of what exactly is Management 3.0 in terms of its principles. What is the foundation of Management 3.0? And further on, we're going to explore some of the tools that have been created using the principles of Management 3.0, and some of the other tools that has been curated by Management 3.0 to be used for leaders and managers in their everyday work life. At the end of this session, there will be an opportunity for a Q&A, as well as a feedback on the session. So let's get going again. So I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro, so you can see my screen on Zoom as well. So that's me. My name is Isman. I'm working as an organizational development consultant. I'm a facilitator, trainer, as well as coach. And I focus a lot on leadership, management, as well as business agility. At some point in my life, I used to work for Cirque du Soleil, so that's a whole entire story. And then I've been in startups. I've worked for the big corporations like Oracle. I've worked for global advertising technology companies as their regional head of marketing. And then I got sick and tired of everything. And I told my wife, hey, can I do a startup? And she said, yes. And that startup failed. But from that failed startup came my little outfit right now. It's called the Allison Partners, which is a consultancy. I do have an MBA, but the world of management have moved so much from the academic understanding of what is leadership and management that not a lot that I learned in my MBA actually is reflected in the in the thinking behind Management 3.0, or the principle. It is all very, very different as the time moves, becoming a lot more complex these days. Some of the things that I like is basically I love coffee, bicycles, and pastries. I like pastries. So I am going to bring you to my screen, and just a big quick Miro demo, so that for those of you who are joining the interactive session, you can play along as well. This is okay, Miro, cool. So feel free to join the session in some of the interactive part of this afternoon. So for those who are on the Miro board, I'd like you to share what is one of your favorite management principle, quote, or a theory that that you love. One of the leadership or management principle. I'm going to put in about 1 minute and 30 seconds and see what you can put into the space. So for those who have just joined us in this session, there is the link to the Miro board. There's a link in the Miro board that you can click on. There's a link in the Zoom chat that you can click on, and you will reach the Miro board where you can join the interactive session. Priscilla said, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Thank you so much, Priscilla. If you want to put your name into the sticky note, that would be much appreciated as well. People are definitely our greatest asset. I saw that. Thank you, John. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Absolutely. Communication is key in management. Marianne says, you can't blame them if you don't train them. Absolutely. As a trainer, I totally agree, Marianne. Leader is the one who shows the path, and lead the team throughout the journey. And Betty says, what gets you here won't get you there. From the words of Marshall Goldsmith. Thank you very much. 10 seconds for you to still add something to the space. Okay, so just finish up your quote. So John said, purpose plus unity equals to diversity and growth. John, thank you. Leader is the one who shows the path and lead the team. Oh, that's the same. Marianne says, don't tell your people to go fish, make them want to go to sea. Ah, that's from the Little Prince, the book. Thank you so much. So these are some of the, the quotes that are really close to our hearts. And for a lot of people, even for me, when I when I enter the corporate world in the working world, it's like, oh wow, and all these leadership quotes are amazing. All these ideas around management theories are super amazing. But a lot of these as well does not translate into a lot of practical daily tools that we can use, or we can consciously use to shape our environment. So I apologize if you are still putting in your quotes into the space. I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro. I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro. So this is the an introduction of what exactly is Management 3.0. So the author of Management 3.0 is Jürgen Appel. He is based in Holland. He wrote a book a while ago called Management 3.0. And from his book and from his ideas came the whole concept of, how do we do leadership? How do we do management in complex environments? So Jürgen Appel came from the world of agile. He was a scrum master. His work was, how do we create teams that are, come to work happy, being, feeling that they have a purpose to fulfill and deliver quality work, and at the same time being happy and healthy. Today, Management 3.0 is based globally. There are teams all over the world, but most the guy that runs this is Ralph. He's based in Holland again. And this is the quote of Management 3.0. So Management 3.0 is not another framework. It is a mindset combined with an ever-changing collection of games, tools, and practices to help any worker manage the organization. So really, it is not a framework, it's not a model, but it's really, things that you can use, activities, practices, tools that can help you become a better leader, in your environment. And a good point to make sure is that it is a growing practice. It is a growing practice, continuously being updated based on experiences from the field, from agile coaches, from organization development, people, and they are bringing all these experiences and tools that they have been using effectively into the fold of Management 3.0. So I'm going to move along to the, as with any, ideas, there are a number of principles. And these are the 5 principles of Management 3.0. Engage people and their interactions, improve the system, help to delight all clients, manage the system, not the people, and co-create the work. I'm going to talk a bit about each in the next few minutes. I'm going to bring you to my screen in Miro. So Management 3.0 believes in, good work happen when we work together. Good work happen when we come together, bringing all our ideas, everyone having a voice to contribute to, coming up with a solution. Just like, any team, in a sports field, or, in workplaces, or so how do we collectively tap on the knowledge of everyone in the room? So it is a way of to think about how can we make work inclusive, using all the diverse experience, skill sets, and also providing an environment where it is respectful, where everyone appreciates each other's ideas, even though they might not be the same as ours. So it is about how do we create this environment, and that's what the first principle means. How do we engage people and their interaction with each other? with each other, between people, the people in the team, as well as with the leaders and the managers. How do we engage and people in their environment, making sure that there's a lot of connection between the people in the team or within the organization. I want to bring you to my screen. So as we know it, the idea of organizations in our current modern you know context is based around this synthetic construct, which is hierarchies, functions, departments. So this is pretty much what the management theories have thought about, some practice in the field, and we came up with this construct where we have this so that the organization is stable, it is predictable. So there's a lot of the ability for the authorities in the organization to make sure that the organization move in a certain direction. So as what we call it, command and control. But in reality, an organization is it mimics life outside of the outside of the workplace, in nature, in fact. So the organization is actually a systems of people, of teams working closely together. We are all part of this system where we contribute to the collectively to the delivering the value to the organization. What may affect what marketing does may affect people in sales, and that may affect people in finance and even shareholders. So in its actual fact, it is in its natural and construct, it is a system rather than an artificial hierarchy. So that is what it means when that is what it means when we say in management 3.0, one of the principles, the key principle, is how do we improve the systems? How do we improve the system that we are in? So Peter Drucker says, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. There is really no other reason why an organization should exist. It's really about, how do we come together using our collective knowledge, using our collective expertise to create value that we can deliver to the customer. And in the context of management 3.0, the end user or the end client is really, really important. But also, the people who help to deliver value to the end user or end client are equally important as well. So, sales helping out marketing, marketing helping out HR. Everyone has there's a lot of dependencies and internal clients, as we say. So in management 3.0, how do we delight all clients within the organization? How do we make everyone part of the system? How do we make everyone part of the system? I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro again. I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro again. This is what I say. So self-organization, which is a big deal if you are in Agile, is the natural interaction of people and not management. So imagine if you are on, part of a football team. A football team, a soccer team, is made up of 11 people. What if 5 managers and 6 are workers? When someone needs have an opportunity to score the goal and they have to ask permission, it just doesn't work. So the natural environment that the team, in a sports team is actually in a self-organizing situation. There are leaders that emerge from the group, and there's always coach on the outside to help the team grows. Similarly, in times of crisis, for example, in natural disaster, people come together without waiting for anyone to tell them what to do, without waiting for the management, without waiting for a leader. People naturally come together to help make things better. And this other picture is the as a protest in a protest in riots. Similarly, as we can see in those environments, there isn't there isn't hierarchies in that situation. For example, the situation in Hong Kong, there were no clear leaders. So it was hard to suppress the protests in Hong Kong because there was no clear leaders. There was no one that was being promoted within the group to become a leader, but the leaders simply just emerged from the system. So the leaders just simply emerge from the system, and make things happen. So in Management 3.0, the idea is that we are no more in the position to tell people what to do. Instead of telling managing people as the idea that we are so used to, we are now in a world where it is too complex for that. People are now having a lot of access to cheap knowledge or great knowledge on the internet, just through their mobile phone. There are many younger workers or employees who have, a much better skill set than the guys at the top. The guys at the top are simply unable to do today's work because it is simply super, super complex. So the role of managers has to change. In this respect, the role of the managers has to be about being a coach, being a facilitator, and how can the manager nurture the environment so that people can excel and do great things. So I'm going to bring you to my next screen. This is a case study. This is what I experienced last year. I was over in Hong Kong for quite a while in between October and November to help an organization to do transformation. Basically, the leaders of the organization wanted to restructure the entire organization to make sure they are a lot more responsive to the needs of the customer. And this organization is in pharma. It's a global pharma company from Switzerland, and this is the office in Hong Kong. I was asked, myself and my teammates were asked to be in Hong Kong. It was a big thing, but when we got there, when we have a discussion, they didn't want us as consultants, and it was one of the biggest things. They want to do restructuring, but they do not want to do, they do not want us to be consultants, but they expect us to be facilitators. So to us, like, wow, this is interesting. Like, what's going on? So they wanted to restructure the whole organization by tapping on the expertise, experience, knowledge of their employees. So my team and I, we were in Hong Kong, and we took about half of the entire organization. We brought them to workshops. We did design thinking workshops. We did ideation workshop. We did design sprints on how we can, make that organization, become a better version of itself. So, it means that we are going to change the job roles. We are going to remove job roles. We are going to remove, they wanted to remove hierarchies. In fact, they actually did. So, and they wanted to change the culture. And when we were doing the entire project, there was no consultant. We were just there to help them facilitate the conversations between, their employees and the people who are actually doing the work. And this is it may not work for many organizations, but in this case, the leaders believe that the work is really complex, especially the work in delivering value to the customer. It is not something the leaders can do because they're so far away from the customer. So instead of like dictating and telling the workers that this is what we need to do, they say that you guys, hey, you should do this transformation because you are closest to the customer. You know what the customers want. You should be doing it. So in this case, I'm going to bring you to my next screen in Miro. So in this case, it is about how, how do you co-create the work, especially in complex environments. So it's no more about marketing working on itself, HR on itself, supply chain on itself, but how can everybody work collectively together to create lots and lots of value for the customer, basically. So that is the 5 principles of Management 3.0. I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro. And all these 5 principles becomes part of the, becomes why the tools and the practices and the, the games are curated within Management 3.0. These are the principles that inform the decision on why all these tools becomes part of Management 3.0. So I'm going to stop here for a bit. I'm going to ask, so if anybody has any question, feel free to leave your questions in the Zoom chat. Also, if you've just joined, there is a Miro there is a Miro board that you can join. The link is in the Zoom chat as well. So or otherwise you can look at my screen on the Zoom sharing. So I'm going to bring everyone to my next screen. I'm going to bring everyone to my next screen. So I've created a space around here, and let's hear from you. What are the top issues that you have with leaders and managers? So what you can do is you can pick up one of the little red dots, and you can move it around the screen, and you can vote on something. So if you feel that there's something that is not here that you want to put in, feel free to use a sticky note and just add one more issues that you feel is important. So I'm going to put a timer into the box and see, let's have everyone. So top 2 issues, sorry, 2 votes is for each person, sorry. Top issues with leaders and managers. Top issues with leaders and managers. So for those who've just joined, we are on the Miro board, so feel free to come to the Miro board, or otherwise you can look at the Zoom sharing. So I can see a lot of lack of communication, micromanagement, lack of inspiration. Yeah. If somebody would like to talk about that, if you shared that, if you'd like to talk about that, feel free to turn on your mic and tell us what you mean by that. Lack of exchange.
Isman, if it's okay with you, I wrote two lacks there. So it's one, uncertainty, well, lack of exchange and lack of inspiration. What we discuss a lot in leadership circles that I'm in is that there is a lack of leadership circles where high top CEO leaders can really exchange and get inspiration from others. I think sometimes if you're on top, you're not getting feedback, you don't really have an exchange partner, depending on company, organization, culture, and so on and so forth. But sometimes I think those circles are missing, where they can discuss openly and get a good exchange and also inspiration.
So from your experience, why is that happening? Why is that, what is stopping this exchange of information and knowledge from from the leaders to the ground?
Well, coming from Austria, I did a lot of research in new ways of working. And for example, organizational structures and hierarchical structures, for example, as we have them in Austria mainly, and of course, that's a cultural thing, influences a lot. The more hierarchical you are, the less likely it is that you're getting feedback or expecting and wanting feedback from your employees, whatever level they are on. And I think that's a huge challenge.
Right, culture. So I was in a conference this morning, and it's the same thing out here in Asia. I believe quite a number of you in Asia in the room as well, that the high power distance in Asian corporate societies are actually is one of the biggest impediments in actually making positive change in organizations. I think that's quite similar to what Barbara mentioned. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much for sharing. So I can see a lot of lack of communication, lack of trust again, constant pressure, unable to change, lack of cultural understanding. So all these are some of the issues that we all face, with our managers, or even, or in fact in our own behavior sometimes, right? That if you're self-aware, it's not, perhaps it's not because you want to be like that, but the environment shaped you as such. So the management 3.0 tools and practices is about how do we overcome all this? How do we stop being a micromanager? How do we actually show real leadership on a day-to-day basis? How do we understand culture, in much more closely, especially if you are in Singapore? It's such a global economy, and it is reflected in the workforce. So there are many nationalities in the same workspace. So the management 3.0 practices and tools, the idea is that how can we address all this in a much more proactive, in a much more conscious, daily, practical, and I want to improve the environment every single day. And that's a big difference between some of the other leadership thinking, which is just about inspirational quotes, but this is about how do we want to do this every single day. So I'm going to move to my screen. I'm going to just bring you to my screen on Miro. So I've created kind of a space here, and we are going to get to know Marty. So this is Marty. So in Management 3.0, there's the principles and then there are the views. These are the work of Management 3.0 that we, why do we do this and what are our area of concerns? That includes how do we align constraints? How do we develop the competence of the teams or the organization? How do we empower teams? How do we keep people wanting to come to work and still being really, really happy? How do we improve the system? How do we, make things work really well? A lot of effectiveness, a lot of efficiencies, and also beyond that, how do we grow the team or the organization? So I'm going to bring you to the first one here. I'm going to bring you to my screen on Miro. I'm going to bring it to my screen on Miro. So the Management 3.0 is structured in such a way that there is the views and then there are the topics. So some of the topics that we discuss is delegation and empowerment. And the idea of how do we create amazing teams. So these are the two practices within this empowering teams view, is that, how can we help the team facilitate discussions among themselves? How do we team make better decisions together in a way that, it's agreeable to everyone, in a way that, we move forward and there's a lot of progress and there are a lot of great decisions being made using our collective voice, using our collective knowledge and expertise. At the same time, there is another practice in Management 3.0 called the delegation poker. Sometimes, when we talk about, delegating work to, to our team, or, how do we, there's 7 levels of delegation. There it could be telling, you could be selling the idea, you could be, okay, you guys go ahead and just do it and let me know what happened, or you are going to fully delegate this work to someone else. So in this case, there is kind of like an activity that you can do with your team to kind of make sure that all this is very clear. For this task, what are we going to do? Is it something that we need to ask for permission for, or is this something that we can fully take on without permission? So how do we make this transparent? How do we make it clear to the team? I'm moving on the Miro screen. I'm going to bring you there. We also talk about aligning constraints. We are all in such diverse environment in terms of culture, in terms of thinking, in terms of experiences. So how do we, in here we talk about values and culture, meaning and purpose, as well as, how do we measure performance? How do we create a purposeful working environment using OKR, which is objectives and key results. So two practices here would be the personal maps as well as the work expo. So these are the things that we use within the aligning constraint view. So one of the popular practices, or one of the areas that takes a lot of our energy in Management 3.0 is the idea of how do we energize people, because all these practices falls a lot in terms of, how do we coach people to do great things? How do we facilitate people to do amazing things? In here, there we talk about, motivation and engagement, individuals and their interactions, worker happiness, as well as rewards and incentives. So there's something called Nico Nico calendar, moving motivators, and also there's something called the kudo wall and happiness wall. So in the kudo wall, it is simply creating a space where everybody can show, appreciation for each other. So what happened with one of the projects that was on is that one of the team members in a group of 12 just simply did not play ball with each other. So one of these persons simply, is being very contradictory. So anything that the team seems like this is very positive, that guy is like super negative. And the team finds it frustrated. The team was getting frustrated. And what I did was simply, hey, let's put up this kudo wall and, take a moment. Here are the kudo cards, write them out, write an appreciation to each other, thanking each other for the work that's been done, and put it up on the wall. So for me, it was an experiment. Like, how can we get past this situation? So the team actually wrote messages to this person and put it onto the wall. And the messages that they wrote, it's like, how can we have a discussion on this? How can we come together and make things better? Can we come to a point where we can see each other's views in a way that it is respectful, so that we can move along, we can make progress in whatever we are trying to do. So that is a simple practice, but it's something called the kudo wall and the happiness door. that you can use to kind of like, motivate as well as show appreciation on a daily basis. I'm moving along uh, in a Miro board. So, once we have teams, how can we understand, areas of improvements in terms of competencies? How do we help them? How do we give better feedback to teams? How we create better meetings? How do we organize and facilitate better meetings, actually? And also there's a topic in emotional intelligence. So there's a practice here called team competency metrics, where as a team, you can understand where are the gaps, what knowledge can we, or what skill set can we share across to the other team members, or what skill set isn't available within the team, and this is where we need to go and get an upgrade. So we make it as clear as possible, where are the gaps, where are we good at, so that we can improve the team. There's also a technique called feedback wrap, which is kind of like an upgrade on the, you might heard of the feedback sandwich. So, but this is a feedback wrap, and I believe it's much better than the feedback sandwich. I'm moving along on Miro, so I'm going to bring you along with me. So we also talk about how do we improve the system. How do we understand that in any organization, learning is really important. Learning is really important. How do we tell our team? How do we create occasions, learning occasions where whatever we do creates new knowledge or creates new experiences? How do we help our team understand this so that they can grow? So this is this is a practice called the celebration grid. So I don't have time to explain it, but it's a beautiful idea on how can we help the team understand that some of the things we do does not contribute to learning, while some of the other things we do actually is the best teacher that we can have. Again, that is part of the celebration grid conversation. And finally, how do we grow structure? So there's, how do we scale teams? Because as we know, if you must have been in an experience where you started small and you start to grow your team, and you started to, you add on more teams. How do we make sure the teams are nimble, are responsive, are respectful, are communicating really well to each other? So there's a game in Management Tomorrow called the Medals game, where you can kind of like make a plan, or you can kind of like visualize, okay, if we were to add more people to this team environment, what will happen? Where would our communication suffer? Or where can we improve, the way of working if we add another team? So this is kind of a game to help people understand how can we create great teams. Okay. So I'm actually at the end. I'm actually at the end of the session here. So, oh, that's pretty early. 4:44 on my time. So I'm going to bring it to my screen. So this is the moment for you to, help me, help you with questions. So if you have a question that you would like to share with all of us, or with me, or some of us can actually answer that question, feel free to put it into the Miro space, or you can, just turn on your mic and, ask a question.
Isman, there are some questions actually already.
Yeah. Okay. Difference between OKR and KPI. Only if easy to explain. I use my experience, okay? I'm pretty sure a lot of us in the room can actually answer this question. In my second last corporate job, we had OKR in our organization. And how it was done was it was implemented in a system in our performance appraisal system. So if I go into my system, if I click on my in the profile of my CEO, I can see his objectives. I can see all the things that he needs to do for this financial year. What are his objectives? And then I can go to his one down, and I can click into each of them and see how are these one downs objective leads into the CEO's objectives. And it goes throughout the entire hierarchy, so to speak. So I can actually go and click into my boss's profile in the system, and I can see what his objectives are. And I shape the work that I do based on his objective. And this is how we create a very purposeful, a very focused organizations. Of course, it is not perfect. When I was there, I click on some of the other leaders' objectives, and they were crap. They were things that they would like to do rather than what we are trying to achieve as an organization. So OKR is actually a very, very transparent way to align the entire organization. Was that a question from you, Barbara? If so, thank you. I hope I answered that, Barbara.
Perfectly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me just have a look at all the other questions. So Marian said, how can I introduce the Management 3.0 philosophy to my team, my CEO, my company? I say just, you have to learn it. You have to so it is not an easy journey in a sense that management and leadership in this current context where time, it is complex. It is difficult. It is about how do we let go? How do we let go of things that we used to have in terms of control, in terms of power and authority? Because like I said early on, like there's so many things that we don't know anymore. Someone else can just Google up the answer that, oh wow, I've never thought of it, and you found the answer on the internet. So so how can we let go, of this, the idea that we are the expert, but let the team be the expert. And the thing is that one of the practices in Management 3.0 actually says one of the team's key responsibility is actually to delegate authority to the manager. So how, I know it's kind of hard to think, but how can the team delegate authority to the manager? Because that's the only way to create transparency and accountability, because managers are not gods. So
wow.
that is, sorry, but that's big. So like I said, this is not being taught. When I was in the MBA for 4 years, this was never thought like that. So, but because times have moved on, and it's complex. So how do we do that? How do we do that? So that's part of the Management 3.0 learning, all the ideas. But in a nutshell, go slow. And the other thing is that the idea in Management 3.0 is that we cannot change people. We cannot tell people, hey, transform, go digitally transform, be more agile. It doesn't work like that. The only way people can change is for us to change first. And people see the impact that, oh, wow, he changed. I'm going to try changing as well. So the only way we can do is we change our behavior so that others will come along. And that's leadership. I hope I answered that. Thank you for the question, Marianne. Yip, you got a question, objective? Okay. Is that a question or something that you would like to share, Yip? So just for me to understand.
Yeah, just sharing with Barbara because she asked about the difference. So I was trying to get the difference out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yip. How can I get the material for this? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I will certainly share the materials for this. Any other question in the room? Any other question in the room? Just gonna bring everyone to my screen again. So any feedback if you have,
Isman, is it you who's going to be doing the upcoming workshops in the end of September?
Yes, it is me. So that's the class that I will run in 2 weeks' time. Yes.
Wonderful. And it's on all 4 of those dates. It's a 3 hours a day, 4 days.
Yes, that is right. Because I don't want you to sit like 7 or 8 hours in a workshop because you're behind my hurt. But it's also, so one of the experiences, I'm not sure Aline is here. So is Aline here, Miko?
I don't think so.
Okay. So one of the great things about doing workshops and training online is that I can actually give you homework. Also, the other thing is that you can actually go back and use it. Use the tools that are being taught in this class. Go away and use it, and come back and report to to share with the with everyone in the room. It's actually quite an amazing experience when we did the first Indonesia special, where Aline actually took moving motivators as well as, I think it was, what was it, Meko, Kudo cards or
Personal map and team agreement.
Yeah, and then she went out and used it with with her clients, I believe, and then she came back and gave us sharing that experience on what happened. And I thought that was amazing because, again, it's not leadership in the sense that about being inspirational, but it is practical. Can I use it tomorrow? Sorry, long-winded answer, Marianne, but yes.
No, it's brilliant. Thank you. I'm
Thank
so excited to use this. I'm going to definitely. I have some meetings coming up which need some energy, so I'm going to use some of this.
Thank you, Marianne. Any other questions in the room? So I appreciate you guys spending here. So it looks like we're gonna end early. It looks like we are going to end early. So what I'm gonna do is I will certainly share the slides that I have, so you can go back and reflect on it. But otherwise, I really appreciate your time. I hope you've learned a bit more about Management 3.0. Again, it is about how do we do leadership, how do we do management in complex environment. If things are a lot simpler, like maybe 30 years ago, we probably don't need anything like Management 3.0. Things that we learn in management school, in business school, are certainly very, very relevant still, but yet, it is not adaptable to our present situation. And again, leadership and management, and this is kind of like my personal conviction, it is really about how do you transform your role as a manager, as a leader, into one that is a coach or a facilitator within your team or within your organization. I think that brings you a lot more value than actually just trying to tell people this is where we should be going, this is what we need to do, but rather create the environment for people to excel and to become a better version of themselves.